Dan, 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 oh, make me over. Okay, what's up? If that was a theme song to be, maybe that would be a part of the theme song if I ever had a theme song. On this show, what's up? It's I've Got Questions. I'm your host, Jeremy Jagger. I'm here to tell you what's going on in the atmosphere as the globe spins. I'm going to bring you the news like Rin Tin Tin. All right. We got a lot of things to talk about, so I'm not going to waste any time. I will say, before we start this show, I've just been realizing that in this, I told you I went on a date. I think I told you that last week. Shocker, that I went on a date. And a lot of people seem to think that, I go on lots of dates and whatnot. I really don't. If you listen to the show, then you should know that, I'm socially awkward or have social anxiety, things of that nature. But that doesn't mean, that I can't from time to time try to go on out and do little things and whatever. But so I just, I feel like there's so many people out here, just period, on, it doesn't matter what you look like or whatever, that have so much social trauma or just trauma in their lives from past relationships that they don't get help from. And, they could be making over $100,000 a year and this and that and feel like they have the latest this and the latest that, but they haven't fixed within. And I think it's a real shame that we don't put emphasis on psychology and therapy and moving forward. You don't have to move forward with everyone. That's not what therapy is necessarily about. Is moving forward with everyone. Therapy is to help you be better for you. And I guess maybe that was another. I don't know how that played out. I'm trying to sync things up. I just opened up my Chromebook. If you listen to the last episode, that's where some of that stuff is. But yeah, it just seems like we think, well, as long as I'm breathing, as long as some people like me, there's no need to better myself. And it's just not the case, I was watching this, and I do some reviews and whatnot, and I was watching this clip of this guy named Andrew Tate, and he's out there telling people, if you go to therapy or you're depressed, then you're not worthy of life, pretty much. I mean, that's what he says, He says even worse things. So I'm kind of paraphrasing and also giving it to you lightly of what he says. He's a real danger, I feel like, to society. And I even said in one of my reviews about him that I hope that he does not have a show. I hope that he doesn't have a platform where he gets to speak to people on a daily basis and tells them things about themselves when he's sitting from the castle. And, that's a thing that a lot of people do. Like recently I was talking to a lady about what goes on with, in the streets, and telling her that I had a podcast, and she may be on the podcast later in the future. Very nice lady and everything, but I think I did bring some perspective to her because a lot of people don't think this way, A lot of people will look at poverty and people who are working many jobs and, people who steal and, I'm not agreeing with, people who rob people or steal or do these things that they do, or stealing meat from the store, which has been going on a lot lately. And I broke my Black Panther mug. I took a sip just now. I had to make another cup of coffee because I broke my Black Panther mug before getting on here. I had to wipe up and everything. And I was really sad because I had that mug since before the movie came out. And, you know, I'm a Black Panther fan, and, you know, there's a lot of talk amongst that, but I had to do another cup of coffee. But going back to my thought, y'all know I'm sporadic, so don't do it. But at least I could come back. So what I was telling this lady is because, you know, a lot of people will get on, you know, why don't people just do this? Why don't people just do that? And for a lot of people, you know, you're getting a pension, you're in retirement. And she was actually a person who was in the Army, very beautiful lady and whatnot. And we were just talking about like violence going on and the insurrection that happened and things of that nature. And, you know, she was talking from a place where it's kind of like you're comfortable, you know what I mean? You're getting your check for $3,000, $4,000 a month, and you're not here on the ground level. You don't have to worry about the ground level. There are people on the ground level that are really, really suffering. And we're going to talk about today, I think one of the videos that I'm going to play and react to is why are some Americans moving out of the U.S.? You gotta really see, like, people are tired of it. People are, you know, if you could work from home, it's kind of like, why do I have to be here? There's all this violence, there's discrimination, misogyny, you know, and it's just no end to what's going on here. And, you know, a lot of people who are retired, especially, you know, who always have something to say about the young people and what they should do. You're not living in the young people's world. When you grew up in the 80s and the 90s and whatnot, and then you retired around 2000s and above, you're not having to go through what these people are going through. And that's why I say that, you know, therapy should be free for all Americans. You know, we should be able to tax these billionaire companies like the gas companies that came out that their profits were over $15 billion for several of the gas companies while Americans were going through it. You know, they were able to just profit while we were the ones at the pump, like, oh my God, why is my car that I used to pay $50, $60 to fill up now $80, $90? And, you know, here's these companies that are profiting by billions. And we talk about not just making money, profiting, which means that you can do, you know, you can have a good time on that. You know, CEOs are getting bonuses and whatnot. And, you know, we can get on these companies for making that money, but if you don't do nothing about it, if you don't start taxing them in a way where Americans get the benefit for keeping them alive, right? Because that's what we do. We keep them alive. If they didn't have us, what would they have? They wouldn't have their bonuses. And that's the thing that a lot of us, and I've said this several times, you're dealing with racism and things of that nature. You know, you have racist people who don't realize these companies and these people don't care about you. So here you are, you know, hating on women, hating on Asian people, hating on black people, whatever. But if we were to say, enough is enough, we're all friends, let's go after those people, we'd be living a real better life. You know, we'd be living like in Sweden where, you know, there is no huge amount of poverty and homelessness. You know, we give this country such credence, and it doesn't give back to the people who keep it afloat. And we have to really recognize that and stop not recognizing that and letting these people get away with it, you know. We have to have new laws that come out and go after people who are paying less taxes than us. It's a shame that we pay more taxes than Elon Musk, and that there are people like, well, he's a genius, so, but a genius should be able to get back, you know. There has to be more. There has to be definite more to come for us. There shouldn't be veterans that are, you know, fighting for a country, coming back home and living on the streets. And so many of them do. And then they have mental health issues. Can't get help, you know? There must be more. And if we don't demand it, it's going to be like this forever. And as we keep going down the rabbit hole, it's just going to keep getting worse, you know? People do need mental health. And, you know, a guy like that Andrew Tate guy I was talking about, they really do people a disservice. Because a lot of people don't even know that their jobs offer mental health. You know, I worked at a company for some time. I didn't know that you could just put your therapy sessions, you know, charge it to them. And that they gave you, I think that company was giving 4 or 5 sessions free a year. And like I told someone, you know, sometimes you go to a therapist and you think it's not working because it may be just that person, you know. And if you actually visited several therapists before you say this is not working, then you probably would have more success. And when companies are offering 4 or 5 free therapy sessions, you're able to really go out there and try people out. And I guess that's just what I want to say to open this thing up, you know. You're making all this money and whatnot. Go talk to somebody. To not do it is just to ignore your greatness. You need counsel. Everyone needs counsel. You need outside counsel, not counsel that, you know, is within your realm, meaning your friends, family. You need someone who's going to say, do you really think that's a good idea? While your friends are like, well, you know, you know, all that. So I really stress that if you are working at a job and you're paying for benefits and whatnot, please go out and just see what you're available for, you know, along with getting your medical checkup, you know, which is one free thing a year also that you get. Make these people pay for it because they're not paying for it. And don't feel bad because you want to use services because you paid for them. You know, a lot of people who will get on like unemployment people or people on unemployment, you pay for unemployment. You work. You pay into unemployment. You pay for, while you're working and never going on unemployment, you're helping keep other people alive. And then when it's your turn, get on it. That's how you're supposed to do it in America. It's supposed to be reciprocal. But you're always told, you know, you're not doing enough if you do those kind of things. You worked for it. And if there's no job that fits your quality of life, then why would you not go on unemployment? Why would you not, you know, get the assistance you paid for? So I just want to say that, and we'll get right into it. Stop for a moment and be right back. All right, we're back. I think on Anchor is where like I was telling y'all, we'll be back and commercials will play. I told you that on the last episode, but I don't think that they play for everything. I don't think they play like on Spotify and whatnot. But if you don't have commercials on Spotify, yay, right? Or they probably break it up. I don't know how they do it, but And also, if you want to go back and listen to, I think you could go back and listen on like Spotify, Apple Play, whatever, Google, I don't know, whatever you have that you're listening right now on. We're also on YouTube now. And on YouTube, we're doing some more visuals and whatnot, which is pretty cool. But we're now going to start this up. It's time to get into, I'm going to do some hot topics first before we get into all the nitty and gritty that, I usually get into. No holds barred, as you know. But I wanted to start off a little like that. And somebody that I must applaud, I haven't listened to this album yet. I go from many topics. I have many different channels where I talk about different things. This isn't always so serious, but I do like to inform you of what's going on because, some people don't tell you. By the way, it is August 1st. Hi, August. Number one, okay, Beyoncé. Let's start her off. Let's see what's going on with the Queen Beth. She released an album, a dance album. I have not heard the album yet. I hope that these people don't play me any clips because I don't want to hear anything until I sit and listen to it in full. A lot of people are going off about it. I've been reading over the weekend and whatnot about what it is and what it isn't. As a creative, as a person who loves music and will be getting into that over the next year and a half, I never listened to a project or something or go like even to movies. I saw Nope this weekend or last weekend. I saw Nope by myself. I took myself on a date, and I saw Nope, and it was great for me. A lot of people are going, oh, it's this, it's that. It wasn't Us. It wasn't what's that other movie he had? Jordan Peele, Get Out. It wasn't that. I'm not a person like that. I'm not a person who will do that to an artist who creates. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of artists, I feel like, don't grow musically. And that could be an issue, you know what I mean? Like, if you think about someone like, just for instance, one of the greatest of all time, Michael Jackson, and I said this recently about him, and sorry for that beeping, but I can't stop right now. That's my dishwasher. If you hear, it's kind of faint, but I felt like after Thriller, and I wasn't, able to make these thoughts when I was a kid, but as you listen to his music from Thriller to Bad to Dangerous to History to Blood on the Dance Floor to Invincible, I think I have that chronologically correct. The sound did not evolve. I think from Thriller to Bad, it just kind of just settled. He focused on being a king rather than being an entertainer, being kind of bizarre rather than being an entertainer. And a lot of people were talking about this album and saying how, it's not this, it's not that. She put out an album that I guess celebrated LGBTQI plus culture and music, period, as a dance. I'm sure she loves dance music like many creatives do. But then, when you're black, it's kind of like, oh, you show me you doing R&B, which is just insane to me because we created most modern music. We did. That's a fact. From rock and roll to house to dance music, we were at the helm of it. And she tapped into something that, I was already kind of tapping into for what I want to do. And I'm happy that, like I said, the only song I've heard is Break My Soul. That's the only song I've heard. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, she's doing the 90s dance stuff that I really am into. But you know, that's what she did, and I think that "Break My Soul" was a really good song. But the album came out, and apparently it's done some huge numbers, and I want to applaud her as a black woman for doing what she's doing. You know, I felt many times where Beyonce never spoke up is why I really didn't. I think I'm about 15 minutes in, so on YouTube I can't get a hit on this, but I think she finally stood up. You know, if you think about when Formation came out, she wasn't really saying anything about black people, you know. And I think that musically, that's when I started really liking her. More so was because she started talking. She actually had a voice. She spoke about things, and it wasn't just, you know, all the single ladies and all that, all the fluff. And I like that, and I'm happy that she is using her platform to speak up for people who don't have a voice. So with all that, let's see by the numbers. Beyonce, Renaissance.
Beyonce's new album is here. Let's look at her latest work and her career so far by the numbers. The 16-track album Renaissance hit music streaming services at midnight. Fans are crazy in love with its mix of musical genres like house, funk, techno, and bounce. This is the 7th studio album for Beyonce. Thames, Big Frida, even Grace Jones got in formation to record.
So one thing about that, this is the 7th album from her. Her solo album. Every single album, and this is what I've heard, every single album has gone to number one. It's a huge feat. No other female artist can say that from the start, that every single album has gone to number one. That's massive.
Features on the project. It also samples other artists, including Donna Summer. Beyonce has had 60 songs on the Billboard chart, including the first single from this album, Break My Soul. All of her albums have topped the Billboard 200 chart. Beyonce has 28 Grammys, more than any other woman in history. She is also the most nominated female artist in Grammy history with 79 nods. So many listen to her work. 42 of her singles have been certified by the Recording Association of America, ranking from gold to quadruple platinum, and she has more certifications in other countries. Success may be her superpower. She has earned $450 million through music, her Ivy Park collection, and other endeavors. That is according to Forbes. So Beyonce is not worried about any bills. Renaissance, the first of 3 acts. The R&B diva has not said what the other 2 projects will entail. And one more number, 7. That is how many references we just made to Beyonce's songs in this.
All right, that was cute. So that's one thing too, that there are people out there like losing their mind because she put out a dance album. But I think that she's breaking up these albums. Apparently there's going to be 3 acts to this album. And I would imagine that the next one would be maybe, you know, more R&B or a full album of ballads, you know what I mean? So I definitely applaud her for that. Shout out to Bah.
All right, so first up, of course, is going to be Beyonce. It has been just over 24 hours since Beyonce released her latest album. It's fair to say the Beehive is still buzzing and boogieing. Since its release midnight Thursday night, Friday morning, Renaissance has reached #1 in 100 countries and is currently the top-selling album on iTunes. The album's getting a lot of praise for its sound that pays homage to decades of dance music history, with a wide range of influences from Chicago house to 70s and 80s disco to dance hall. Beyonce is, of course, known for these show-stopping visuals that usually accompany her music. But she said she wanted her fans to be able to focus on the listening experience this time around. Not to worry, she says a visual component is on the way. And if you want even more Beyonce, Renaissance is just Act 1 of this latest musical endeavor. There are 2 more acts to come.
All right, so there you go. Congratulations to Bah for being an unstoppable force. And you know, I think that the difference, and I was bringing up Michael Jackson earlier, between her and Michael, I think that she got a chance to really learn the errors of Michael Jackson. And you know, if you think about it, he is the king of pop, right? Of forever and always will be king. But musically, until the time he passed away, I think his last album came out in 2001. He died in 2009. You know, his legacy does have to rest on Thriller, the Thriller album, Black or White, you know, Dangerous album, and Bad, and the songs from before. Whereas Beyonce, you know, I think she knew, and one thing I'll say is that a lot of artists today, you know, and looking at her album too, there's like 400 writers on it, and I'm obviously being egregious with that. There's just a lot of writers on this album, and you know, I guess there's nothing wrong with that. You know, people collaborating and whatnot. But I think that what she learned was to be a queen, right? Like he was the king, but she also knew that she had to keep her ear in the street. You know, she had to still dress a certain way to keep her dominance, to really be effective. You know, if she dressed like in glittery gowns all the time, you know, people wouldn't be able to relate to her. And I think that at a certain point, you know, like when Rihanna and those people came out, she really had to change her style up, had to start singing about different things, sexual things, and more, you know, things like that, and actually had to have a voice on like things like Black Lives Matter and the LGBTQI community. So big ups to her, a Black woman, 100 countries, #1, the biggest album in I think a year, beating out Taylor Swift and, you know, people like that who are to me very bland. So big ups to her. So let's get on to the next topic, a little hot topic that you may or may not have heard of. Shakira may go to jail for 8 years. Let's take a listen to that.
And Shakira's legal battle, the global superstar facing tax fraud allegations. Alex Crochet is back with that. Alex, good morning again to you.
Hey, Janae. Yes, we are used to seeing the pop star light up the stage. Well, soon she will take center stage in a Spanish trial. Serious jail time, a possibility.
Shakira. Prosecutors in Spain say they will request that international superstar Shakira be sentenced to more than 8 years in prison if she's convicted on tax fraud charges in Spain. The Spanish government is accusing the Hips Don't Lie singer of failing to pay 14.5 million euros in taxes between the years 2012 and 2014.
The Spanish government has made no secret of going after celebrities for tax evasion. We've had Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and now Shakira.
At issue is where she lived during the majority of that time. Shakira's lawyers claim she spent most of that time in the Bahamas and filed her taxes accordingly. Spanish prosecutors say she was mostly in Spain and thus owes the country taxes. Earlier this week, the pop star rejected a settlement deal offered by prosecutors, opting to go to trial instead.
The fact that they declined a plea deal now does not foreclose settlement down the road.
Shakira's publicist in London fighting back against the allegations in a statement released Friday, saying the star has always cooperated and abided by the law, demonstrating impeccable conduct as an individual and a taxpayer.
In all likelihood, she's not going to see any jail time, much less 8 years. Shakira's got a very sophisticated team, and I don't think they intend to roll the dice on her entire life and career.
I mean, you gotta, this is what I'm talking about with, I was talking about earlier in the show about people who are very, very rich and don't give back. And she's not the only one. These people do this all the time. evade taxes and push money out to different countries where they wash the money. She's not the only one. And she probably did this. She probably did this. I mean, this is how they've been doing it for years. She just got caught. And that's it. She just got caught. And whoever is the person who allowed her to get caught, you know, I'm sure she's upset with, but this is not new. People have been evading taxes for years. Donald Trump does it. Everyone does it. She's just a part of it, and I don't think she'll go to jail. Like the guy said, she probably will never go to prison. She'll probably have to pay some huge lump sum amount. The only thing this does is, if anything, tarnish her reputation, but more likely it won't. You know, the people don't care, you know, and they should, because those taxes can go to the homeless, poverty, building schools, you know what I mean? But then who's to say that money that the country got, they would have did that, you know? That's why you do have to go after the powers that be, because they're not doing the right thing, and with the money. So, like I said, she'll probably never go to prison. I don't see her going to prison at all, but I don't think her career will be tarnished. Should be fine. Another hot topic that is going on as we start to jump into more deeper things on this show. You know, this is I've Got Questions Season 2. I believe episode 5. Don't quote me. I believe no, it is, because episode 4 just came out on YouTube this morning. Sesame Place, Disneyland, all these people have been accused of treating black children with bias, just treating our children like adults, which has always been a thing in the black community. A lot of our kids get treated like adults, or treated like, you know, I don't know how to say this, but I think a lot of, you know, if you know, a black person, or if you are a black person, you've been treated like an adult for a very long time. And I was treated like an adult as a kid too. And I was a bigger kid. I was tall too. So there were times where people would treat me like an adult, and it's just like, I'm a child, you know what I mean? I don't know, you know, and or just disregarding us because of their own racial bias. And it's just a shame that, you know, we're going to get into this, but there are kids that are literally putting their hands up to get a high five from a freaking cartoon character. And the person inside that thing who represents these places, Sesame Street, Disneyland, everywhere. Because there's a few stories, and we're going to get into that and let you know that this is not the first and only time this has happened. So it's just a sad thing that these kids are just reaching out for a moment of happiness. And what we decide to do as people, or as adults that are, you know, who don't want to say they're racist, right? Because we, like I've said before plenty of times on the show, that people feel like if you're not using the word nigger, then you're not being racist. You've not done anything wrong. But racism is systemic. It's in the banking industry. It's in prisons. It's in housing. It's everywhere. It's in the police systems. It's everywhere. And people always want to say, why do you guys make this about race? Why do you want to bring up race first? What else are we supposed to think? You know, and I told someone this recently. There was a lady who saved a baby from being thrown over, and I said that, you know, as a black woman, I applauded her. You know, nothing. I didn't say nothing about white people. I didn't say nothing like that. I just said black women have been saving this country forever, and a person, you know, decided to write, why does it have to be about race? And I told her maybe it's my Stockholm syndrome. You know what I mean? That makes me go to race, because apparently black people are the only people who can't have Stockholm syndrome. Only, you know, Jewish people can have it, and white people can have it, but not black people who have had to be used as props in movies as, you know, robbers, rapers, murderers, when, you know, we're not the people who did that over time to the most amount of people ever. But that's the way Hollywood has treated us and shown the world that this is what they do, even though it wasn't, but it was like a way to keep people afraid of black people. And we're going to talk about that towards the end of the show. I have a clip for that to listen to. But here's just another instance of, you know, people who you're working at Disneyland in Sesame Place, and the thing you want to do is to pass a black child by instead of giving it a high five. Or giving him or her a high five. So let's go.
We're going to go to Sesame Place. They're facing another new lawsuit. This new video of another apparent racial snub appears to show a character ignoring a 5-year-old girl. TJ Holmes here with the story. Hey, TJ.
Hey, George, good morning. We all know Ernie, right? Of Sesame Street. Bert's best friend, Ernie, orange fella. Well, he's at the center now of a $25 million lawsuit. So what did Ernie do? Well, he is one of a couple of characters that left the little girl hanging when she wanted a high five. Now, the family says this is part of pervasive discrimination at Sesame Place, and they have put forth new video this morning. They say backs up their claims. Another video this morning of another alleged racial snub by Sesame Place characters, and this one has led to a lawsuit.
I'm hurt, devastated. Me and my wife, just looking at her face, it makes me want to cry every time I see it.
In the video, one character appears to ignore five.
And this is the thing that it just saddens me, because there's so many people out here who think that black people just have it okay. Spanish people, Asian people, they see rappers, they see sports stars, and they're just like, look at, they got all this money, and, you know, black people aren't going through things, they're just complaining. You know, we're the people who have to go out and see a Confederate flag flying across and just be like, oh, well, they're just celebrating their legacy. If, again, I've said this on the show, if this was any other country, if you were in France and they had a war and the losing side flew a flag for hundreds of years, it would be known as treason. It would be a traitorous thing that you do. If this was the Jewish people, you know, if I had a Nazi flag outside of my house, there would be uproar. How could you do it? But in America, you can have a Confederate flag which celebrates, you know, you lost, you know, you didn't win, but you're still keeping that alive. There's no laws against racism, as I've talked about. And, you know, you hear this guy say he looks at his wife and how sad she is because of how they treated their child. You don't want your child to have to go through it. You say stop and comply. What did this child do? You know, when you want to say things about Black Lives Matter, what did this child do? The child went to Sesame Place because they loved these characters and they were ignored.
5-year-old Kennedy Burns while high-fiving other white children nearby. Kennedy is visibly upset. And then another character, again, high-fives the other children while Kennedy's hand remains outstretched.
We stand here before you today simply trying to fight and protect little black children and their fundamental civil rights.
The Baltimore family says they came forward after seeing this viral video last week, posted by the mother of one of these two girls, showing character Rosita high-fiving white park-goers, then gesturing no to the two little black girls and walking away. That family has also hired an attorney. In response to that video, Sesame Place issued a statement saying they are committed to making this right, adding they will conduct training for our employees so they better understand, recognize, and deliver an inclusive, equitable, and entertaining experience to our guests. The Burns family says that instance was all too much like what they experienced during their trip to Sesame Place in June. The lawsuit filed Wednesday against SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment, the parent company of Sesame Place, alleges the park engages in pervasive and appalling race discrimination against children in the operation of Sesame Place, Philadelphia.
These are the characters that taught our children, that taught me, that taught all of us how to be a friend, how to love people.
The suit claims Sesame Place broke a contract to parkgoers who bought a ticket and violated the Burns' civil rights.
The reason they didn't get the experience they paid.
And that's what we say, and that's what I've said on this show, is if you're gonna be racist, just say it. You know what I mean? Just tell us and we won't come. If you don't want us there, we won't come. But you need our dollars. If black people walked away from everything, y'all would fold. If y'all didn't have black people, you would fold. The food, the music, the inventions, the sports. If you didn't have us, this world would be bland as fuck. It would. You wouldn't have us. The acting, the dance, everything. If we weren't there, you'd be bland and bored.
Contracted to get was simply because of their race.
Sesame Place says they will review the lawsuit and are committed to deliver an inclusive, equitable, and entertaining experience for all our guests.
Yeah, right. And this is why I say to many people, you're still going to go there. You're still going to go to Sesame Place. You're still going to go to Disneyland. I really implore black people to walk out and stop going to these places. I really would. I really wish we would. They don't deserve our money. They don't deserve our time. They don't. Because they don't care. They don't screen people. You should be able to screen people for what they do. Because this is inherent. It's inside already. When they walk out the door and they see a black kid riding a bike, they shake their head, they're upset. Oh, why are you doing this on the sidewalk? You know what I mean? A white kid can do anything they want. Asian kid does whatever they want. They don't treat Hispanics all great, but Hispanics don't come to our aid. Just being truthful, just saying what I want at this point. Not just saying what I want, but saying what I see. But our kids get to get treated like crap, and then we get, oh, why are you playing a race card? It's the only card we've been given.
Alleging the White Rabbit character went out of his way not to touch 4 children.
So this clip, before I just started off, right? Second family files lawsuit alleges racism at Disneyland. So you may think I'm playing a clip from recent. This is from February 7th, 2013, almost 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
Then that story went viral, and 10 News reporter Michael Chin is here with another family that's come forward. Michael.
This case involves another beloved Disney character, Donald Duck. Nastasia White has hired an attorney and will likely join this lawsuit filed earlier this week.
So, you remember when Disneyland... Was it Disneyland? Oh, no, they didn't say nothing yet. It was Sesame Place that had the issue. Rosita, right? Yeah.
This is a picture of 5-year-old Rosie White with a stormtrooper at Disneyland. His mother, Nastasia, says it was the only photo he took that day with a character, but he wanted one more.
I was upset and hurt.
It was supposed to be a day of fun. On December 10th, the Whites were celebrating the birthday of 2-year-old Ryder. At Disneyland's Main Street, Nastasia says Rosie walked to within 3 feet of Donald Duck.
He was sitting there with his arms open. Donald.
Such a cute kid. Such a cute kid. Just smiling and happy. Such a cute kid. Why do you deserve that? Why do you have to be treated like that? All you want to do is just come to Disneyland and Sesame Street and pretend you're part of the cartoon, or pretend you're a part of the Sesame Street.
Nastasia says Donald Duck made a deliberate move away from him and went to play with a baby in a stroller. The Whites waited a foot away, first in line, and say the baby's parents urged Donald Duck to give Rosie some attention. Instead, according to Nastasia, Donald Duck went up to a young white girl near the bench and hugged her. Nastasia says after 3 minutes of waiting, they left in frustration. And when she turned around, she saw Donald hugging the white children that were behind her.
And this is the issue for me, is that, you know, and not saying this family, not saying any the other family either, the other families, plural. You know, there's a lot of black people out here who don't get into the race thing until it happens to them. And this is why I say we should walk out. But it's just sad. Because, like I said, you're going to go back. There are black families on their way to Disneyland right now, knowing about this. There are black families on their way to Sesame Street right now, knowing about this.
Rosie started asking her,
which goes back to the Stockholm Syndrome, by the way,
this question.
Why didn't Donald want to take a picture with me? Inside, I wanted to cry, just like I do now.
Could you have simply misread the situation?
I couldn't have, because it was done in a very ugly, blatantly way.
She says she complained and was sent this letter offering passes that would get her to the front of the attraction lines to alleviate her disappointment. On Monday,
I felt sad.
We told you about a Spring Valley family filing suit alleging civil rights violations after they say the White Rabbit character brushed off their sons and their cousins to hug white and Asian children. Their attorney, Dan Gillian.
Didn't I just say white and Asian children get to do whatever they want? I just said that. I never saw this clip. I don't have to try to make these things up for y'all. I don't have to. It's here. It's blatant. It's obvious. I just said it.
And has also been hired by the White family.
What it tells me is this is not an isolated incident. They have some people in their company that aren't playing by the rules.
Gillian plans to subpoena Disney for surveillance video for both incidents. The Whites, who live in Los Angeles, say their initial complaints were laughed off by a Disney employee before they tracked down a manager the next day. Disney would not confirm whether the two incidents involved two different employees, but say they were surprised by this story because the original complaint had no mention of discrimination, just a child being ignored.
How much more do you need? Here's another clip. This weekend. This is on World Star Hip Hop. I don't think it's on YouTube. Scumbag-ish. That's what the title is. New Jersey Chuck E. Cheese ignores 2-year-old black girl. I don't think there's any sound to this.
Your house stinks.
Oh boy, wait. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Your house stinks. My house smells great. I have a candle lit. I have a candle lit with peppermint oil burning right now, right by me. That was an ad. I'm sorry, y'all. It says here, this person, Safa, wrote on July 30th at Chuck E. Cheese in Wayne, New Jersey. And I used to live in New Jersey, so I definitely know about the racism in New Jersey. My 2-year-old was racially discriminated against. As you can see, he gives all of the white kids 5s and purposely ignored my black baby. When confronted, he ignored me as well. The manager, Angie Velasquez, made excuses for him. It's always that. It's always us. And then we're always ignored because these people always want to say that black people are just playing the race card. Another incident where we're just out trying to be happy, trying to fit in with them. No, let me not say that. Well, how can you not say it? You know, it's just like that Amazon show. Them. Just trying to fit in. Just trying to live the American life. And you're treated like garbage. You didn't even do anything. What did you do? Your kid just wanted to be happy. You got to see this clip. It's 15 seconds of why. I don't think there's any sound to it. Here's this, and I'll just do a play-by-play. Okay, so start from 0-0. There's the young black girl is jumping around, very happy, has a nice ballerina dress on. There's a bunch of white kids on the stage. She's the only black kid not on the stage. She's putting her hand out for a high five, and he's just waving at the other kids. Just turned around and looked at her, turned back around and started waving at the other kids. But we're supposed to not say it's racism. We're supposed to just say it's an isolated incident. I just played you a few. It's not the first one. It won't be the last one. But they keep describing these things as isolated incidents. When will it stop? Racism has to be made illegal. You have to give these people help. Because mentally, they don't have it. They're not all there. We'll be back. All right, y'all, and we are back. This is I've Got Questions. The next few topics are going to be a little deeper. But we talk about, like, police and stuff like that, policing. And we say Blue Lives Matter. So the first thing, which is, you know, it's only Blue Lives Matter until it's not about black people. Because as I've said on this show, most people don't like cops, and most white people don't like cops and treat them like trash until they are beating on black people. That's my opinion. It's not just an opinion. I think it's an inevitable fact. But here's a cop that decided that another cop's lives didn't matter. Here's Cop on Crop Crime.
Being caught on body cam video, grabbing a female police officer by the neck during an arrest. The footage shows Sergeant Christopher Police lunging for the officer after she pulled him away from a handcuffed suspect in a police cruiser. The female officer has not been publicly named, and police has been placed on administrative leave. We asked him for comment and have not heard back. Manuel Bojorquez shows us how this confrontation unfolded.
All right, I'm getting in. By the time Sunrise Police Sergeant Christopher Police arrives at the squad car, the suspect is handcuffed and in the vehicle.
Look at you want to play games? You ever get disrespectful to my officers? I'll remove your soul from your body.
That is when another...
This is what they... Now, how do you defend that? All right, let's start there. How do you defend someone who's a person who gets paid by us? Who gets paid by the public to say, I will remove your soul from your fucking body. You think this is the first time he's ever done that? You really believe that? I tell you, these body cams are, you know, I don't know what they're doing because these people haven't stopped being egregious with their intolerance for black people living. But here you go. I mean, they didn't even talk about that. I didn't hear that part, and I'm just seeing this for the, you know, everything I play here is usually I'm seeing for the first time. But I didn't hear that he, you know, threatened to remove someone's soul from their body.
The officer intervenes and tugs at the sergeant's belt, removing the...
So here she comes like, you know what? No, you're not doing that today. She pulls him off of him because he starts... You can't see it in the video, but he's grabbing at this guy. Presumably, he's probably grabbing him by the frickin' neck because that's what he did to the female officer right after she grabbed him. This is a person who is driving around with a gun and a badge, and we're supposed to respect them and comply.
Superior officer from the situation, but the sergeant lunges for the female officer's neck, his hands eventually falling toward her shoulders.
No.
touch me again. Get the f off.
The disturbing body camera footage led prosecutors in Florida.
And then there's 3 other cops just standing there watching. One looks Latino, one looks like a white woman. I can't see the other guy. 3 watching it. Just letting him do it. So you know he is like that. You know he does this because none of the other officers even intervened when he started choking a female officer. Or any officer. It doesn't have to be female to have an outrage. Any officer. So he does that. That's normal behavior for him.
To charge police last week with assault and battery on an officer.
That should not have happened.
Sue Rohr, a former sheriff of Kings County, Washington, is an expert in police tactics.
We need to train our police officers that no matter what you think you're going to do, you have to override your brain and take steps.
Within days of George Floyd's killing in Minneapolis, many law enforcement agencies reinforced active bystandership training. 3 officers were...
But here's the thing. Now you have certain states where if you film a police officer, I think within 8 feet, something like that, you can go to jail, you can go to prison. They don't want to be filmed. They don't want no one to show what they do if they turn those cameras off. But you don't want no one to say, defund the police. To restructure what the hell is going on. Like the lady said, we have to retrain these officers, and this guy obviously shouldn't be a cop. None of these people should. We should fire every single police officer, I'm saying it right here, and then rehire people. And then make them go through trainings and see if they have racial bias or misogynistic views. Because there are ways to sniff that out. But when we talk about police officers, we choose not to.
Were convicted of federal civil rights violations for failing to intervene. The female officer, who has been on the force for about 3 years, is being praised for her actions.
Everybody turn off their fucking cameras. That's what he said. And then the first thing this white officer did, this white lady officer did, was reach for her camera. We are in danger and we don't even say anything about it. Or we are, I mean, what the hell? Turn off your fucking cameras. But then they're enacting laws where citizens can't record them. You want to know what? You're going to a Taliban state soon. You're worried about the Taliban so much, we're going there. Turn off your fucking cameras, he said. You think this is brand new behavior. It isn't. This is something that they do. This is something that she literally took her hand and went to turn off the camera.
The female officer, who has been on the force for about 3 years, is being praised for her actions. Which may not have come to light had the officers complied with their sergeant's commands.
Just extremely proud of what that officer did. And I think the more we celebrate her courage in that situation, the more we're going to see that kind of behavior happening.
Police pleaded not guilty to all charges. If convicted, he could end up behind bars for up to 11 years. He is currently on administrative leave.
Administrative leave. He's still being paid. He still gets money while assaulting police officers. If you assaulted a police officer, you'd be thrown in jail with your arm probably broken or fell out of a car like some lady did recently in Georgia. They said that she fell out the car. A locked squad car was opened and her body fell out. Come on. Come on. Come on. When are we going to stop making excuses for them?
Mornings. I'm Manuel Bojorquez in Miami.
Thanks, Manuel.
I think she had it right when she said we should applaud her courage. Also,
and that is true. We should applaud police officers for standing up and saying, you know what? No, not on my watch. Because there's many black officers and many minority officers who get into the police force to make change, you know, to change and show people that police can be fine, can be. But if you have somebody like that, a sergeant, a freaking sergeant, who's now on administrative leave, he's getting paid to be at home and relax and have a good time, probably getting on message boards, you know, for the next insurrection. Because we still don't know who did those things. He probably was there. I would say that. Because you never know who was there. This is what's going on. But these behaviors have to change, and the only way they will change is if you offer something to the officers who report it. But then they get shunned. They get treated like, you're not backing the badge. You're no brother blue of mine. You have to tear that away. And the only way you tear that away is defund the police. That's the only way. Not doing it is just backing the blue. That's all you're doing, is backing the blue. Here's another cop going off. Cincinnati. Another officer with an outburst on camera. Guess what she did?
You gotta move. Ridiculous. This profanity-laced rant sent veteran Cincinnati police officer Rose Valentino to desk duty on April 5th. She was...
Send her to desk duty. These people get to do whatever they want and still get paid. Why would they change? Why would they change? We can't do that. You can't be at Walmart, go on a racist tirade, and then get paid, get sent to home and just relax for a few days. She's on desk duty.
Pulling into the District 3 station to fill out a report when she noticed vehicles lined on the street to pick up students from school. She activated her lights and quickly became angry when they didn't move.
Is she gonna just sit there?
Body and dash camera video just released by CPD shows what happened next.
Dumb. Oh, I hate him so much. Oh, I hate this world.
After rolling up her cruiser's window, she uses the N-word. Valentino told investigators a black student gave her the finger, which led to her outburst. She was one of 4 officers profiled by WNWT and featured in a nationally televised reality show in 2011, Police Women of Cincinnati.
Never a dull moment. You go into every situation as if it's the first time, you know, you've dealt with that sort of thing.
In Valentino's most recent performance review, dated after the rant, she was complimented as a hard worker who uses good judgment. A supervisor recommended she study for the promotion exam. In January 2019, this official reprimand says Valentino showed body cam footage from a homicide at the Glenway Pony Keg to family members while having dinner at the casino. In March 2020, she was arrested off duty. Her sister and brother-in-law accused her of pushing and hitting them with a closed fist and using an umbrella to repeatedly strike a vehicle. She pled guilty to disorderly conduct, a misdemeanor, and was ordered to attend an anger management assessment. 2 years later, she admitted she did not have control of her emotions here.
I hate it.
Valentino told internal investigations, "This is a hard job, and I was getting to a point where I was really being affected by it. I had been on for 14 years.
But you've been on this job for 14 years, and the first thing you want to say is, fucking niggers, I hate them. I fucking can't stand niggers. That's what it made you do. But we're supposed to be out here trusting that we are okay around them. That when they pull us over, we're going to be okay. We are in trauma every time we interact with police officers because of Rose Valentino and officers like her. But we're supposed to just be okay. We're supposed to just comply. We are nervous that we're not going to live anymore. Every time a black person gets stopped, they think they're going to die. That's not a joke. It's not funny. Every time. Even if you have your hands on the wheel, you have your seatbelt on, they will treat you like trash. We've seen it. That's why when I haven't been stopped in a while, knock on any kind of wood. All the wood in the goddamn house, please. But when I've been stopped, I flip on about 3 cameras. Sir, yes, I'm here. I'm complying. What do you need? And the cop, the last time I remember, he was like, just relax. No, I can't relax because I don't know what the fuck you're going to do to me. Because I don't have anyone to watch to make sure that I get out of this okay. She's been affected by 14 years. Imagine what she did on her next stop. So she drove around, called people niggers, and said she can't fucking stand them. And then the next time, what happened? That's what I want to know. What happened when she got to her next stop? What happened? Who did she decide to pull over for maybe going a mile over the speed limit? Who? We never know. Because she's getting a promotion while on desk duty from having a racist outburst on camera. Her next thing is to get a promotion. Next, Mississippi. MISSISSI where I'm so afraid to go, but I keep getting told to come there for different things. You think I want to go there?
I don't give you kill them cold blood. I will articulate to fix the problem.
A shocking confession caught on tape as a Mississippi police chief brags about killing 13 people in the line of duty, all while using racist slurs.
I have shot and killed in the line of duty 13 different people. You shot that 119 times. Okay? I mean, I saved 67 kids in a vehicle was shot 300.
If you would be anyone else, you call him a serial murderer, a serial killer. You would think that he's, the son of Sam, which his name is Sam, by the way. I just thought of that. And then on his screen is his stupid face smiling at the camera for probably his Match.com picture. Sam Dobbins, that's his name. This is him on camera. Well, I guess they recorded his voice, saying that he killed over 13 people. This is who he's admitting to, by the way.
19 times. But he was hit 119 times by me.
Audio obtained by the Mississippi Center for Investigative Reporting through civil rights organization Julian features a recording of Lexington Police Chief Sam Dobbins. The audio was obtained by another officer, Robert Lee Hooker, who called it, quote, appalling, racist, hateful, and detrimental to the welfare of the people. Hooker resigned from the Lexington PD last week, citing a toxic work environment. In late July, the Lexington Board of Aldermen voted to fire Dobbins. An interim police chief has... But
his work environment was toxic. And I don't know if you've heard, there's a story, I don't have the exact right now, but there is a factual story where a man was voted the new town manager and the entire police force resigned. The entire police force resigned because the man was black. The man was black, so the entire police force resigned. Let me see if I can pull that up for y'all real quick. Just so you know exactly where. North Carolina cops resign en masse after town taps black. Let me read this. A small North Carolina police department resigned en masse, citing conflicts with their newly appointed town manager. Newly appointed, you have so many conflicts. The entire police department of a small town in North Carolina reportedly resigned almost 2 months after the town hired a black woman as a town manager. Oh, you know they're not taking shit from a black woman. No mammy is gonna tell me what to do. No mammy. Kenneally Township, about 40 miles southeast of Raleigh, North Carolina, faced a mass resignation of the entire police department on July 20th. This is all brand new stuff, y'all. I'm not just coming up with old stuff. All right, this is all within the last 2 months. Everything that you just heard was in the last 2 months. On July 20th, after Chief Josh Gibson, along with 4 other officers, submitted their 2-week notice. So they stood in line, they backed the blue. The officers cited that their newly elected town manager, Justine Jones, created a hostile work environment. This is the sale. So this is what they do, right? And I'm going to always talk about this kind of stuff, so get used to it. So when they want to get out of things, they'll say, the job made me do it, right? Because of the job, that's why I killed somebody. And that's why he's probably going to say, the job made me do it. That's why he got Sam Dobbins got to kill 13 people without going to jail. So these guys are saying it was a hostile work environment, and which is also another thing that he used. So against, along police, they have created these terms so that they get out of things. And what these terms do is allow them to get out of it, because if you all uniformly say it's a hostile work environment, then they'll say, well, hey, this other guy went through it. This other guy went through it. This other guy went through it. If you say that the job made me do it, this other guy made me do it, this other lady did it, she because of the work, that's what made her blah, blah, blah. This is the only job in America where you can do this, where you can be racist, kill people, and get away with it. All of us are very heartbroken that it had to come to this. Are you? In my 21 years at the Kenneally Police Department, we have seen ups and downs. But especially in the last 3 years, which is once Trump left office, we have made substantial progress that we had hoped to continue. However, due to the hostile work environment now present in the town of Kenneally, I do not believe progress is possible. So everything has failed because you have someone who's deciding that y'all can't do this shit no more. Jones has dedicated her career to public service over the last 16 years, during which she worked in progressively responsible positions with local governments, in Minnesota, Virginia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Kenneally's diversity and dynamic potential offers intriguing challenges and a promising future of growth and prosperity that I am excited to become a part of, Jones said in a statement. I welcome the challenge of overseeing the town's operations, and I am looking forward to working with the mayor. This is all they do. They have this little statement that they've been given by their unions, which another thing is that police unions shouldn't be a thing. You should have to follow a federal guideline, not state by state. There's no reason why laws on police are not federal. That state by state, you're allowed to do what you want and get away with it.
Since been appointed. For the latest developments in this case, and
let's go to the next one. Again, all within the last week or so.
A Long Island family is calling their neighbor, who is an NYPD officer, a vigilante over a road rage incident.
They say he pulled a gun on them on the quiet street they share. CBS 2's Jennifer McLogan live in Selden in Suffolk County, where the disturbing case unfolded. Jennifer.
Christine Maurice, we come to you from the 6th Precinct in Selden, where officers here arrested that now suspended NYPD officer involved in a wild road rage incident just blocks from here, charged with pulling a gun on a neighbor, and that neighbor wants to remain unidentified.
Get out of here with the pen. You want to do this? I'm a police officer. Really? I'm a police officer. Get the pen away. Back up. Back up.
I thought I was going to die. Right on my porch. I'm still shaking.
A Selden couple say they returned home to find NYPD officer Douglas DuBonet having a tantrum on their front porch following a road rage incident with their college student son.
Tell your son to stay away from my house. Your son is driving past my
house, casing my house. Investigators say the 24-year-old Stony Brook student was driving down the street he lives on. His neighbor, the off-duty cop, was coming in the opposite direction and was forced to move over and slow down. Words were exchanged.
Instead of retreating, the gentleman say, if I catch you on my block again, I'm gonna kill you.
The son phoned his parents to say their neighbor was following him. They told him to drive to the precinct. On the way at this red light, DeBenet, allegedly still so enraged, exited his car, punched out the student's rearview mirror, and drove off. Why did you break off my mirror? I didn't break the mirror. Hours later, Officer DeBenet confronted them on their porch. It was then the family learned their neighbor was a cop.
You cannot be using our taxpayers' money.
Okay, no problem. You're behaving. The family called 911. Officer DeBenet was arrested for menacing with a weapon and criminal mischief and has been suspended without pay from the NYPD.
Finally.
The victim is an accountant and says that's why he had a pen in his pocket and waved it.
You're on my property, pull a gun on me.
Yeah, because you put a pen to my neck. You touched my neck with the pen.
What the fuck? Oh my, you know what? The next time I do this show, you will have video. You will have the video of what I'm looking at because these people are crazy. They're nuts. That man never put a pen to his neck. He never ever did it. And you just created it. Even though this man is holding a phone, you still created a lie. You still created a lie on camera while the man has a camera on you. And you're supposed to still be a cop. These behaviors have gone unadulterated for so long. You think this is isolated. It's happening everywhere. It's just until we get it on the news. It's just until we are all able to talk about it. But what about the incidents where we don't know? What about the incidents where we someone didn't record? Cops gone wild, y'all.
They're one of two families of color on the entire street and claim to feel ostracized since DeBenet moved in.
I've lived here for 15 years. He just moved. I am here 2 years ago.
The family says they believe the incident could be racially motivated.
Could be. See, the thing is, again, and this family is Indian, right? And that's why I say to a lot of people who are not black, you think you're safe. You support these police officers until they come on your steps. I support a police officer making it sure that they get home at night and not harmed by any citizens. I do support that, but I do not support police officers doing whatever they want to citizens that pay them. That's not how it works. It shouldn't be how it works, but it is how it goes. It's not how it works, but it's how it goes. I mean, you can't even get locked up and have a police officer treat you right. Let's go to the next story.
Jail guards get bribed. Jail guards get bribed. They give keys to male inmates in the jail. So the male inmates can go to the other side of the jail and rape the female inmates in the facility. Let's put up the pictures of the individuals at the center of this now investigation. Clark County Sheriff Jamie Knoll and former jail officer David Lowe, they are at the center of a civil rights lawsuit. This is in Clark County, Indiana. A civil rights lawsuit is being filed on behalf of 8 women who allege they were sexually assaulted at the Clark County Jail. The lawsuit against Clark County Sheriff Jamie Knoll, former jail officer David Lowe, and other unknown jail officers. Let me give you some background to this. The lawsuit alleges an ex-corrections officer gave male inmates keys to access the female side of the jail, which allegedly led to attacks, threats, and rapes behind bars. The lawsuit calls it a night of terror. The lawsuit claims the 2021 incident on October 3rd and October 24th started with a $1,000 bribe behind bars from David Lowe. David Lowe is the officer who was working. a now former corrections officer who's facing a separate felony criminal charge. Okay? So he gets a $1,000 bribe. By the way, he's already admitted to it. He gets a $1,000 bribe in order to allow male inmates to rape female inmates. This is sick, but there's more. With the keys, the inmates are accused of entering the part of the jail housing female inmates. The female inmates were then allegedly harassed, threatened, assaulted, and raped. The lawsuit alleges surveillance cameras captured the male inmates entering the female inmate's cell, and the incident lasted for hours. No jail officer on duty came to the women's aid. Now, let me highlight something right here. While Lowe was in fact fired right after this incident, he was not charged. While Lowe will probably be the one who takes the heat all the way, the reality is the entire shift was in on him. You see, the place where the cell was located is actually under 24-hour surveillance being watched by deputies. Those deputies, for basically a day, decided to completely ignore the rapes they saw in front of them. They decided to ignore the fact that male inmates were walking around with guard keys going inside of women's cells in order to rape them. They ignored it. They're still working there.
They're still working there. They're still... trust me, I'm not laughing. It's like, what in the hell? It's so ludicrous that it's so ludicrous.
That after the incident, the women who complained were punished by jail staff. Once again, indicative of their complicit action by protecting and covering this crime up. The lawsuit also alleges that the violation of the plaintiff's constitutional rights was the result not only of a single bad actor, Mr. Lowe, but also due to systemic failure on behalf of the Clark County Sheriff. There was another lawsuit filed June 21. That lawsuit, it actually involves 20 women, okay? 20 women listed as plaintiffs. In that federal lawsuit, the women also claimed the alleged attack by male prisoners went uninterrupted for hours. Women were harassed, sexually assaulted, threatened, and completely terrified, said Bart Butto, an attorney for one of the plaintiffs. When I met with each and every one of these women, and they broke down repeatedly, you get the impression, the understanding of what these women went through. Now, this boils my blood.
Mine too.
Everybody under that sheriff.
You know, it takes a lot to talk about these things. It really does. And like I said, I gotta start letting y'all see a video because this guy, when you heard that little silence, it looked like he was about to break down and cry. Because you have to think of people who are in prison right now, who are actually going through this. But, you know, these women that we're talking about, these men too, because if they're doing it to women, you gotta know that they're doing it to the men. You know, and that's why I talk about, I've said several times to people that I don't know why prison rape and jail rape is so funny. When you talk about sending someone to jail or going to prison, that they're gonna be, you know, bent over for somebody, for, you know, to get fucked and this and that, or rape. You know, I don't understand why it's so funny. I don't get that. I don't know why it's funny. It's maddening to think that we pay for this. And the only way to really think about it is you're paying you, the taxpayer, who gets taxes taken out of their check. You go to work every day. You work 40 hours in one job, 30 the other job, and then you work 8 or 9, 10 hours at Uber or Lyft or whatever the hell rideshare thing you do. Your money funds the police officers who we just talked about, your money funds these rapists who are allowing rape, or these predators who are offered money to go and rape other people and be quiet about it. And then the people who didn't allow the rape, or the people who saw that it was going on, turned their backs. You say this is the greatest country in the world, and I ask you how. I ask you how. I told you, the United States makes up 25% of the prison population in the world, yet we only make up 13% of the population in the world. So imagine how many other prisons this goes on. Imagine. You think it's not happening? No one should have to go to prison and be tortured. No one. Prison is supposed to be for rehabilitation. That is what prison is for. It's not a timeout center. It's not putting your kid in the corner. It's supposed to reform people so when they come out of prison, they aid society. Is this what's happening? No. They go to prison, they're treated like trash. There's another video where a person has a colonoscopy bag that's filled, completely filled. He's asking for another bag and they're just laughing him off, treating him like scum. And I keep talking about, people ask me, well, why do you think that you should tax the billionaires and all this? It's because these people who are doing these things, taking these bribes and all that, they need to be paid more so they don't have to go through these kind of things. They're suffering too. I know they are. That's one thing about me, and that people sometimes don't like about me, is that I can see the other side. But I don't just stand there and see the other side and say it's okay. Something must be done. Something must be done. You can't have this. They're being assaulted while in prison and being pimped out. They're being pimped out. That's pimping. You pay $1,000 to go rape people?
An off-duty correction officer is now the one behind bars, and it's drawing attention to these surprising water pellet guns in viral TikTok videos, increasingly found at the center of injuries and even deaths across the country. Police say on Thursday night, 45-year-old Dion Middleton was arrested and charged with murder, manslaughter, and criminal possession of a weapon after allegedly shooting an 18-year-old man in the Bronx. The NYPD found Raymond Chalison unconscious and unresponsive with a real gunshot wound to his face. WNBC reporting 2 NYPD sources say as police rendered aid, an officer found one of those water pellet guns. There's no evidence that the victim pointed or fired the water.
And the water pellet gun that they're talking about is orange and blue. Looks like a Nerf gun.
But it's one angle in their investigation, law enforcement sources tell WNBC. The Correction Officers Benevolent Association telling NBC Middleton, quote, fired a single shot in a situation where he felt his life was in immediate danger, particularly after...
Oh, that's the term I meant to say. Not, they always say that their life was in danger. So it's either life is in danger or they are working in a hostile work environment. So life in danger, hostile work environment. They've been told to say this. They've been told to say it because then it gets them away from the crime.
After feeling something hit his back, he pleaded not guilty today, according to the union. And after the incident, the NYPD posting this warning online saying these guns are unlawful to possess in the city, characterized as air rifles. Violators found in possession of these will be issued a criminal summons, and the weapon will be confiscated. It's not the first time these blasters that shoot gel water beads propelled by a spring-loaded air pump have faced scrutiny from law enforcement.
TikTok made me buy it.
Viral TikTok videos show the pellet guns taking off in popularity.
Summer 2020 sure about to be a war zone.
It's called the Orbeez Challenge, but a variety of brands make the pellet guns. Other incidents across the country have...
Now, if you are a parent, like this teenager was killed, you should be able to sue that damn company. You should be able to sue these companies. We need to go after everybody. Because 1 + 1 = 2. Okay? He bought this gun, this water pellet gun, which was, like I said, some animated color, and then was killed, shot in the face. Not shot and disarmed, shot in the face.
Prompted police departments to warn their communities. In Florida, a 19-year-old shot an Amazon driver, hitting him in the glasses and neck while driving. In the month of May, Newport, Rhode Island police had approximately 8 incidents resulting in multiple arrests. And in Akron, Ohio, a 17-year-old was beaten to death in a school parking lot following a gel gun fight, according to Akron police. We reached out to Splatterball, the company that makes the bead blaster found at the battle, according to authorities, but have not heard back.
Splatterball. I got one more story before we get into a break real quick. Let's get into this one. It's a horrible story, but you must know about it.
Racist as hell. Besides, he may get points for running over a white male, driving down the street, racist as hell. Besides, he may get points for running over black children. He's been arrested. Here's the video.
The hospital CEO has announced he'll be stepping down effective immediately, and a memo sent to employees and medical staff.
So he's going... I think this guy's going to probably say everything I'm saying, but he looks to be going over the speed limit in this neighborhood. And when he sees a bunch of black kids on their bikes, just living life, just like the Goonies, or whatever movie about when white kids get to go out and have a good time, he sees these kids and says 50 points and goes faster. Goes faster while recording it. So he's already recording using a phone, holding a phone while driving. And then to add pressure to it, he says 50 points. Fucking niggers. That's what he said.
Yep, then he calls them the stupid N-word. Let's put up his picture full mask here. This POS has been arrested. Mark Hall was the driver in the video. He has been charged with 9 counts of simple assault, attempt by physical menace to create fear. One of the teen riders recounted what happened, saying, and I quote, "I'm riding my bike," Jeremiah Crum said. "The first thing that I said was, Jabari, move." Hall can be heard on the video saying, "Finna get a few points," before driving through the group at 37 miles per hour. When we seen him coming, Jeremiah and Jabari had to run into the ditch, Austin Hill said. And he clipped the back of Jeremiah's bike, damaging the front wheel. He could have killed those children, severely injured them. He made
those children. Remember, I said a few moments ago about how they treat our black children like adults because they're not man and woman enough to stand in front of someone like me and try that motherfucking shit. So you try it on children, you pussy. You try it on children.
Contact, called them the N-word, laugh. continue to go about his day. I wonder how many times has this scumbag done something?
Right, and that's what I just said. You know, we see these videos, right? You see these videos, but these people have this in them. So the way he's driving real fast, if you see the video, like I said, from now on, I'm going to make sure y'all see these videos. If you see this video, he's driving way over the speed limit. They're in front of his car, and like the kid said, he had to say, "Move." If they never heard the car coming, you know, or anything like that, they would have been hit. No matter, they would have been hit.
All right. It's still people that's like that in a word. Crumb said, even though you don't want to see it, you have to accept the truth and what it is that is still people like that in the community. Initially, you got to think about this. Initially, they refused to charge Mr. Hall. Initially, the authorities refused to take action. And then parents of these teenagers got involved. That is when they decided to finally arrest them. And you have to understand the parents are advocating for their children. They're advocating the government who should have made an action against Mr. Hall, the person who almost killed children, immediately. That's what the government should have done. Here are parents.
And this is Dr. Rashad Ritchie speaking, so you can find that clip. He's the host of Indisputable on the Young Turks. Very brilliant man, and I'd like to meet him. I really would.
It's an activist.
It's unacceptable. And honestly, I'm not going to be quiet about it. This is not something that's going to get swept under the rug. I'm going to be the loudest person in this county if I got to stand by myself. But enough is enough.
You're not going to stand by yourself.
He's supposed to be big. He's supposed to be scared if people pass a test or not. Not whether someone wants to take his life and he doesn't even know this individual and hasn't done anything to him. That's not what he should be worried about. So are we going to stand or not?
We are standing.
What are we going to do? We can't accept this no longer. This is not something we're going to brush under the rug. Y'all going to hear from Temple County.
I guarantee you, if a black male was driving a truck and there were a group of white teenagers in front of him, and he yelled a racial slur, tried to hit them, made contact with them, it would not take the white community to mobilize in order to get him arrested. Mm-hmm. See, this is what we're talking about when we highlight the elements of white privilege, bias in the system, systematic prejudice and oppression.
Yes.
What should be normative is now out of the norm. Mm-hmm. It should be routine for police officers to make the move without the community having to make a rally. Mm-hmm. All right. Ben, thoughts on...
Well, we're back. All right, y'all, and we are back. This is I've Got Questions. It's time to talk about Donnie. Donald Trump. He's back in the news, of course. He is eyeing his 2024 presidential race. It's time to get into some facts about what's going on here. Well, I'm gonna tell you about some things. But what made me want to talk about this is because of what he said recently.
And I'll tell you what, if I were ever, I'd be the greatest women's basketball coach there is. We'll have the greatest team in history. They'll never lose. Nobody will come within 70 points of this team. Say, LeBron, did you ever have any desire to be a woman? Because what I'd love you to do is star on my team that I'm building up. I will have the greatest team in history. They'll never lose. Nobody will come within 70 points of this team.
So he pretty much went after LeBron James this week. You heard him say, has he ever had any interest in becoming a woman? And that he would have LeBron be on his team, which obviously is trying to bait LeBron into something. LeBron supported Hillary Clinton in 2016 and was highly critical of Trump during his time in office, even saying he used the sport to divide people, which is true. He definitely did that. They're playing the clip of LeBron by Hillary.
Not a fan of LeBron James at all, but I would
And he's made several statements about LeBron in the past. But what I found so funny about this whole entire exchange by the twice impeached one-term president and the only president with bankruptcies is that he was accused of raping a 13-year-old girl. The woman who sued him, she dropped the lawsuit after he became president. She accused him of raping her over 2 decades ago when she was a 13-year-old aspiring teen model. Let's see. In the most recent suit, Trump's accuser asserted that while she was exploring a modeling career in 1994, she attended a series of parties at the Manhattan home of prominent investor Jeffrey Epstein. She alleges that during those parties, the real estate mogul tied her to a bed and raped her. She also claimed Epstein raped her during that series of gatherings. As you know, Jeffrey Epstein allegedly killed himself, but many people don't feel that he killed himself. Once he was in prison, a lot of people feel like, people came after him and did what they did. As we know, in prison, things go on. We just talked about that in the last section of the show. The first suit over the alleged rapes was filed in federal court in Riverside, California, in April by someone acting without an attorney using the name Katie Johnson. That suit named both Trump and Epstein as defendants, alleging that the two men held Johnson as a sex slave and repeatedly forced her to engage in sexual acts against her will. If we wanted to go into other things about this man who may be president again, 16 women have accused Donald Trump of various forms of sexual assault, including one accusation of rape and another in which the accuser has not used the word rape, but whose description meets the legal definition of rape. This figure includes standing accusations from before and after the release of the Access Hollywood tape that was released on October 7th, where he said that, with women, you don't even listen to what they have to say. You grab him by the pussy and kiss him on the mouth whenever he wants. 4 other women have publicly said Mr. Trump walked in on them and other pageant contestants while they were undressing. You gotta know that he did that. Come on, guys. He's a fucking freak. BuzzFeed reports another 3 women have confirmed the pageant stories but did not want their names used. Donald Trump has admittedly denied all of the stories and accuses the women of being political tools who were trying to undermine either his candidacy or presidency. A lot of these accusations were before he was even trying to become president. There's an entire list of these women, including Ivana Trump, who in 1989, accusations in early 1990s court deposition made public in the Daily Beast on July 27, 2015, Ivana disavowed stories of rape in a 1993 book and further commented it on July 28, 2015. The mother of 3 children with Trump, Ivana Trump, charges that Trump violated their bond of love at a 1989 incident, which she has not described any further in public. She wrote that her reported words charging her ex-husband with rape and a disposition were figurative, that stories about rape were totally without merit, and that she did not mean rape in the criminal sense. A lot of women, are raped by their husband, and there's a lot of non-laws, I would say, that don't protect them. Ivana Trump was actually recently buried after falling down stairs, allegedly. And a lot of people are talking about where she was buried, which is, we're going to get into the next story about Trumpy. She was buried at his New Jersey golf course with no kind of real burial site. It looks like a patch of dirt. A patch of dirt with a nameplate on it that says Ivana Trump, 19 whatever to 2022. And that's how she was treated. He's a very rich and powerful man. She lived in his home until she died and fell downstairs, allegedly. So I find it kind of weird that this man is being so passive of LeBron becoming a woman after being alleged of assaulting many. Yeah. We talk about white privilege. The guy was just talking about it, Richie, Dr. Richie. But like I said a few seconds ago, that we're going to talk about his New Jersey golf course, which he evades taxes by having goats on his property, which, he's able to do that because the laws protect him. And I believe that he buried his wife there just to probably reap some more tax benefits. But now there's outrage over him hosting the Saudis, which we've talked about, at his estate. Families of the 9/11 victims voiced outrage over Saudi-backed LIV golf tour. Let's get into it.
Tonight, outrage from families of 9/11 victims in a new ad blasting the upcoming LIV golf tournament for its Saudi Arabian backing. It's happening at former President Trump's club.
This golf tournament is taking place 50 miles from Ground Zero.
It's disgusting.
The ad, released by the group 9/11 Justice, following a separate protest near Trump Bedminster Golf Club, where the first round will take place this weekend.
We are going to make it as painful as possible and unenjoyable as possible for those involved.
And now, the National Press Club piling on with a scathing statement calling on Americans to boycott the tournament due to the Saudi government's alleged involvement in the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018, saying, "Do not attend, do not watch it on television, let it fail." The Saudis deny involvement in both 9/11 and Khashoggi's murder. LIV responding to criticism, telling NBC News, quote, "These families have our deepest sympathy. While some may not agree, we believe golf is a force for good around the world." The backlash comes amid a seismic shift in professional golf, following the founding of LIV Golf, which aims to compete with the PGA Tour. LIV, which is partly funded by a $2 billion investment from Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund, enjoys the backing of Donald Trump. He's had a strained relationship with the PGA Tour after the league withdrew a tournament from one of his courses during his 2016 campaign and another after January 6. The PGA announced in early June.
All right, let's just get right into that. Obviously, this guy has this relationship with the Saudis. The Saudis, which I've talked about, have been alleged to be involved in 9/11. Many of the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. The Saudis have never, ever been tried for what they did. There's a whole 9/11 commission that mentions them a lot. And America, or Americans were attacked on 9/11, and a lot, it's not just terrorists that did it. There was a whole backing of people who did it. And that's why these families are completely outraged, because, like the guy said, this is happening 50 miles away from where 9/11 happened, and Donald Trump is supporting it. You know, just like Joe Biden doing a fist bump, which we talked about last episode, and why there's issue with that. But getting into the January 6th information, let's start with Steve Bannon, who is another Trumpy or Trumper. He has been found guilty of contempt of Congress.
Contempt of Congress. Deliberations lasted only a few hours. The former Trump aide was on trial after refusing a subpoena from the House January 6th committee. He now faces up to 2 years in prison. Bannon spoke to reporters outside the courthouse after the verdict.
We may have lost a battle here today, but we're not going to lose this war. In the closing argument, the prosecutor missed one very important phrase, right? I stand with Trump and the Constitution, and I will never back off that, ever.
CBS News congressional correspondent Scott McFarland has been covering this case, and he joins us now. So, Scott, you have been covering this story, as we said. You were there at the courthouse when Steve Bannon spoke. We know at times that there have been both supporters of Steve Bannon and protesters there. What was it like at the courthouse when that verdict was announced?
Don't let the noise fool you. Just a few of each, a few supporters, a few detractors. What stood out to me, Elaine, is the trial was short and the deliberations were shorter. Steve Bannon didn't muster a defense. He didn't take the stand to testify in his own defense. He didn't present witnesses, didn't present evidence, didn't present exhibits, he didn't present a case. All they gave was closing arguments. In his defense, it happened today. The jury got the case just before lunchtime. Presumably they ate the lunch, and before 3 p.m. Washington, D.C. time, they already had their verdict. Guilty on both counts, contempt of Congress for defying the subpoena of the January 6th Select Committee.
And the thing is like, someone asked me, you know, if I was watching this January 6th commission. I said, why? Why would I watch something where these people are getting away with a traitorous act that they did, a treasonous act that they did, and they're allowed to get away with it? They're still allowed to be on the street. Over 10,000 people joined in and had this riot that they, you know, had in Washington, D.C. They marched based on Trump's orders to go down and take care of Mike Pence. Many of them shouted, kill Mike Pence, kill Nancy Pelosi. And Donald Trump supported it. He told them to take back the country, take back the election. Why would I watch that? He said it on TV. He was seen saying it. They have all this evidence, which we're going to get into in a moment, where he didn't do anything to stop it. Why would I watch it? This is another person who's going to get away with a crime. I mean, I think he should be already in jail for what he did for the coronavirus. Right? Because on January 3rd of 2020, he got a memo on his desk and he ignored it. He didn't even make a statement about it until sometime later. And then by March, he finally mustered up the courage to say something about it, but downplayed it. And then made mask a divided issue. And then later on, over 1 million Americans died. Many businesses closed. Many people lost their jobs. And then they started forcing injections on people. Which, if you listen at this point, current President Biden has had COVID twice after all these injections he's had. And he's in the White House. So you have a President, Trump, who allowed the coronavirus to spread without doing much to stop it. He also backed a lot of the vaccines that he backed vaccines after saying that coronavirus wasn't even real, that it was a China virus. Why would I watch that? Why would I watch him get away with it again? He's already been impeached twice. He's already left the office after only one term. He's already a man of many bankruptcies. He's already a man that has over 17 accusations of rape from 17 different people. What am I watching?
Former White House Communications Director Alyssa Farrah Griffin. So let's get to this. The DOJ seems to be ramping up their January 6th investigation with Mike Pence's former chief of staff, Mark Short, testifying before a federal grand jury last Friday. And last night, he made it clear how much danger his former boss was in that day. Take a look.
I think that having the Capitol ransacked the way that it was, I think did present liability and danger, and I think the Secret Service did a phenomenal job that day. I think that the bigger risk, and despite the way perhaps it was characterized in the hearings last week, candidly, is that if the mob had gotten closer to the vice president, I do think there would have been a massacre in the Capitol that day.
Yes, Mike, you was in danger, man.
If you don't know why that's funny, you gotta look up Whoopi Goldberg, You in Danger Girl. You know, she's one of the greatest actresses. She's she's had her ups and downs, but I think, she's starting to really realize what goes on in this country. But that was funny.
That was for joy. The January 6th committee also released interviews detailing how who refused to read statements that the insurrectionists would be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and that the rioters didn't represent his movement. He didn't do any of that. So the question is, how much longer can the GOP really go on ignoring that this was like a poop show? I mean, how will more Republicans get to the place where they can start calling this out for what it was?
I think Republicans are still going to attempt to ignore it. Like, you have people like Senator Tom Cotton and Senator Tim Scott, who are saying, I'm not watching the January 6th.
You're not even telling the truth here. You know you're watching.
They're actually saying that they're not watching it because it's not an adversarial process and there's no cross-examination, even though really there were Republicans from the administration that are testifying against Donald Trump and the administration. But I do think what I feel that people should take away from this.
And just to point out, and not to make everything about race, but I will. Tim Scott is a black man. So I definitely think if you're still a black person who is a Trumper, you should be watched.
Is that you have now Mark Short, the former chief of staff to Vice President Mike Pence, confirming that he testified in front of the grand jury. For those of you that are thinking Merrick Garland is doing nothing at the Justice Department, that Merrick Garland is not going to prosecute Donald Trump, he is going to, in my view, prosecute Donald Trump, because that means this federal grand jury has moved beyond investigating and prosecuting the rioters. Donald Trump, I believe, at this point, is the target of the investigation. Wow. Merrick Garland, let's face it,
And there's another thing that people are saying, is that Trump is trying to get back in office to avoid jail time, which he would. You could not jail a president. You cannot send a president to prison. This investigation, and why they're taking so long to get it through, and why the Republicans are not playing ball, is because they want to make sure he doesn't get prison time. I don't see a trial that could ever go on and in time where we could get him in prison for the crimes that he committed that day on January 6, 2021.
Grand jury proceedings are secret. There's a federal rule that says they have to be secret, but now you have someone that says, I testified in front of the grand jury. And he's such a high-level ranking person that it just, in my view, in my experience, having put people in the federal grand jury, I think that's what's happening.
I think you're probably right about that. Mark Short is about as close to wheeling in Mike Pence that you could. He's his eyes and ears. They're connected at the hip. He was there in the West Wing for the entirety of this pressure campaign as it was taking place leading up to January 6th. So John Eastman bringing out these just ridiculous legal notions that he could overthrow the election and not certify 80 million Americans' votes. So I think this means it's coming very close to the Oval Office, to the most senior advisors around President Trump. And I gotta say this, I know we got some mixed feelings at the table about Pence, but this is, in this moment, moment, it's July of 2022. There's not a 0% chance that Donald Trump might be the president again. And I am grateful. I think it's
What
possible.
makes you so sure?
I bet he's going to announce soon.
Yeah.
I'm worried, to Whoopi's point, I don't think my party's moving quickly enough away from him. I think despite this overwhelming evidence, what the committee has laid out, what the DOJ is investigating, he's got the name ID. They remember, well, I had more money when he was in office. And by the way, to American voters' credit, not everyone pays attention to what's happening in D.C. They're thinking of, like, gas prices were lower and I had more money in my savings account. I fear for him being president again. And in a second term, you wouldn't have the Mark Shorts and the Greg Jacobs who say, no, we're not doing this. We are certifying for Joe Biden because he's the democratically elected president.
I actually think that this is where, when you asked originally...
And that's another scary thing, because now SCOTUS, they are threatening to revamp election laws and how elections are certified. So now where, they made sure that, our votes counted when we voted Joe Biden in, you're going to have a place where the Supreme Court is nullifying many of the states' rights in order to push Donald Trump back into office. And again, it's the way he will evade criminal charges. Let's go into the next thing about this insurrection.
Here's the big news. Last night was the action-packed season finale of the January 6th hearings. They laid out a 187-minute timeline of what Trump did and didn't do after he riled up his rally and his base to march down to the Capitol. He did not listen to repeated pleas to call Homeland Security or the National Guard as he watched his armed mob storm the Capitol on Fox News. He was watching it on Fox. But he did call senators and pressure them to stop election certification, and sent a tweet claiming Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do it, which led to these terrifying moments. Watch.
There's 6 officers between us and the people that are 5 to 10 feet away from me.
I'm going down to evaluate. Go ahead. We have a clear shot if we move quickly.
Members of the VP detail at this time were starting to fear for their own lives. There were calls to say goodbye to family members, so on and so forth. It was getting, for whatever the reason was on the ground, the VP detail thought that this was about to get very ugly.
Well, that tells you a lot. Tell me what you all thought when you watched last night.
Well, I thought that clip of the Secret Service was incredibly poignant and chilling, right? These are professionally trained security people with guns, with Kevlar vests, and they are scared for their lives and calling their families and saying goodbye. It tells you just how bad it is. But look, I think every single hearing we've seen makes the same point. This was planned. This was organized. This was orchestrated. This was expected. This was...
Didn't I say that? I said it several times. It's not about the fact that they just did this. They had time to galvanize, get together, and plan this. And then the man that was in office, that had the highest office in this country, one of the most coveted seats in the world, sent them to kill, sent them to take back an election.
They wanted to a coup. They wanted to overturn the election. So it is very clear this was not an impromptu protest gone amok. No, people. This was organized, planned, wanted, and orchestrated. And Donald Trump was in the midst and thick of it. And the other thing that came out, I mean, how could you not? Josh Hawley.
Oh, we'll get to
what an invertebrate that man is. Oh, no, let me get to him now, please. Please don't ruin my moment.
Let me have the tape.
This is a man, we all saw him, remember, when he had his face stuck. I think at that point he must have thought he was hailing a cab, Uber. And then we see him running like the shrimp, wimp, coward, accomplice, hypocrite he is. And then after he's running like Forrest Gump, run, Joshua, run, run. After we see him running, then he's got the gall to go out and sell merchandise and fundraise over the fist bump.
Yeah, he did.
Chica, please.
And also, can we show that tape right now? Let's watch the tape that she just was talking about.
Senator Hawley fled
After those protesters he helped to rile up stormed the Capitol. See for yourself.
I mean, I didn't run that fast on my first marriage.
He stoked that mob, which they spoke about, from the confines of barricades with protective services. So it's really easy to be bold, but when stuff went south, he was the first one out the door. But in regards to Mike Pence's security detail, one thing that struck me is, you know, they're talking to their families about this is going to get bad. Why haven't we heard more from Pence? The reason it seemed like it was going to get bad is people had a noose and said they were coming to kill him.
Well, what would you like to hear from him?
Well, what I'd like to hear is he has said kind of privately among colleagues that to the, I think it was Republican convention, he said, this was bad. We can't have someone do this again. But the problem is, we already know everyone in Congress knew that the election wasn't stolen. Everyone in Trump's inner circle, we've seen every example known to man, including his own daughter, that the election results were in. He is the absolute only person who keeps repeating otherwise. So if everyone knows that, the people that need to hear from Mike Pence that his life is on the line, his daughter and his wife were at the White House that day. His detail was calling their family members. People are coming for you with the news. Why have we not repeatedly heard him out in public to people, not colleagues? To the people that need to hear it on Fox News, the people at home. This was bad, and that was a line in the sand.
Because who's going to believe him? They're going to say that, you know, he's just going against Trump. Well, I mean, I agree with her that he needs to actually stand up as an American. If he's saying that he's an American and stand up against Donald Trump, he needs to do that. But all he's going to do is get threatened more. Which probably needs to happen so we can really see what this country is. Well, we already know. We already know what this country is about. But, you know, I just don't see him doing that because, like I say about watching this whole thing, what's the point? They're trying to get away with this. They're trying to make sure he gets into the office again before he goes to prison.
His Capitol riot on TV while ignoring his children and aides who begged him to stop the mob. This is what a congressional inquiry has heard. The hearing was told that Mr. Trump did not place a single call to law enforcement or national security staff, and that he was motivated by a selfish desire to stay in power. Well, the committee presented several witnesses who said they repeatedly called on Donald Trump to say something. This is former White House counsel Pat Cipollone, one of the people closest to Mr. Trump.
I think I was pretty clear there needed to be an immediate and forceful response statement, public statement that people need to leave the Capitol now.
My question is exactly that. It sounds like you, from the very onset of violence at the Capitol, right around 2 o'clock, were pushing for a strong statement that people should leave the Capitol. Is that right?
I was, and others will respond.
So your advice was tell people to leave the Capitol, and it took over 2 hours. When there were subsequent statements made, tweets put forth, that in your view were insufficient, did you continue, Mr. Cipollone, throughout the period of time up until 4/17, continue, you and others, to push for a stronger statement?
Yes.
Were you joined in that effort by Ivanka Trump,
yes,
Eric Hershman,
yes,
by Mark Meadows?
So you have all of these people, Ivanka Trump, excuse me, who were saying that Donnie, Daddy, do something, stop this. This is how you're going to go down. This is how you're going to look forever. And he said, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving this office. I don't care who says what. I'm not leaving. You guys support someone like that. You guys really support someone like that. He couldn't even take his loss on the chin. His double chin.
Act. And chilling new 6 committee during the primetime hearing, lawmakers insisting that as the Capitol riot played out, former President Trump did not fail to act. He chose not to act. And chilling new insight into the threat
to former Vice President Mike Pence, frantic radio transmission from his Secret Service detail, and the testimony that some even called to say goodbye to family members. And never-before-seen outtakes from the day after the riot, the president unwilling to say the election is over. And tonight, former President Trump and his former vice president facing off, campaigning for competing candidates in Arizona. Here's ABC's chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Carr.
Mike Pence was warmly welcomed today by a Republican crowd in Arizona, a day after the January 6th committee showed new evidence of how Donald Trump's actions put his life in danger.
The Secret Service held Vice President Pence.
The committee played for the first time radio dispatches from the Secret Service agents charged with protecting Pence as the Capitol came under attack. You could hear the fear in their voices.
If we lose any more time, we may lose the ability to leave. So if we're going to leave, we need to do it now.
I gained access to the second floor, and I've got public about 5 feet from me down here below.
An unidentified White House security official testified that the agents feared they could be killed by the pro-Trump mob.
The members of the VP detail at this time were starting to fear for their own lives. There was a lot of yelling, a lot of very personal calls over the radio. So it was disturbing. I don't like talking about it, but.
So these are people who are calling their family and loved ones, telling them that they may not make it home at all, which is crazy, right? I mean, you're at work and you're working for the vice president, you're working for the government, and you're calling. And this is why I say, how are these people allowed to live among us? Because we don't know who they are. I've said that several times. We don't know who they are. They could be the mailman. They could be the police officer on your street. They could be the guy working at Chipotle making your food. They are everywhere because we never arrested anyone. No one went to, okay, we arrested people, but then they were let out because they were told by their president. That's the excuse a lot of them use to go down there. So now the president is still, or the former president is still, off the hook on this. Charging people to go and kill the vice president. Charging people to go and do a coup attempt on this government to stay in office, instead of leaving like a proud man would.
It also showed never-before-seen outtakes from Trump's damage control speech the day after the insurrection, where he still couldn't stick to the script. Watch.
This election is now over. Congress has certified the results. I don't want to say the election's over. I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over, okay? I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. Yesterday is a hard word for me. Good. Take the word yesterday, because it doesn't work with the heinous attack on our country. Say on our country. Want to say that? No. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote.
Oh, he's so upset. Wow. Sonny, wow. What'd you think of that? Did that surprise you that he can't put two sentences together?
No, it didn't surprise me at all. The anger that he showed surprised me, and it also surprised me that his daughter Ivanka was there watching this debacle and couldn't even control it. Because we always thought Ivanka was going to be that controlling force in the White House. What I thought yesterday while watching the hearings was, my God, at least we are having these hearings, because this will go down in American history in perpetuity. So, people in the future, our children, our politicians will be able to read this. This is going to be part of the congressional record. It's going to be part of history. And we know in this country there have been so many things that have happened, and we just don't have them recorded. Like, let's say, the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre, right? And we've had to sort of try to figure out what really happened. Now we have this act of domestic terrorism by a sitting president. We have the record of it. And so I thought how important it is that they are doing this.
It's super important. And that's why just watching it is one thing, like I said, I haven't watched those commission hearings because I'm just not moved by the people who are doing them. I don't think they're going to be able to put him in prison. The man led an attack on our country, and he got away with it. He's now inviting the Saudis to his Gulf land, wherever you want. He's hosting people at Mar-a-Lago. He's living his life. He's over 70 years old. He doesn't have much. I mean, he only eats cheeseburgers and tacos anyway. He can't barely move. He can't speak. He can't have a form of sentence like Joy said. But he's likely to be our president again, because the Democratic Party have nothing for us. They don't have a real contender to fight this man. That's why I say the only people or only person, whoever it's going to be, that will have a true fight against this man has to be another celebrity. It has to be like MTV Celebrity Deathmatch. It just has to be, because there is no one that anyone's talking about that can go against Donald Trump in the next election and win. Joe Biden is done. Sleepy Joe is done. He is not running again. If he did run again, who would vote for him? All of the blunders he's done. Getting COVID twice. Not doing anything for black people after he said they aren't black if they don't vote for him. Inflation, gas prices, recession. He's done. Oh, thank you. Thank y'all. No, that's not for me.
Joy, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, last time I was here was 2017. It was the release date for my first book, Black Privilege. And Black Privilege went on to be, it debuted at number 6 on the New York Times bestsellers list and was on there for like 12, 13 weeks. So I know this platform played a big part in that. So thank you.
So good.
Yes, thank you.
Good to see you.
Well, up early, late nights, so I hope you're getting some naps in between.
Man, I try. When you hit 44 years of age, it feels like you're just in a constant state of being tired.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So even right now, I could literally go to sleep right now if y'all want to. Just because. I can sleep anywhere at this point.
You're talking to a 50-year-old menopausal woman, you're not getting any sympathy. But listen, we were...
you know what? I got hula hoops. I'm older than you.
We were talking... tough crowd. We were talking before you came out. We were talking about politics, and we were talking about Liz Cheney. And there's some people, like me, who see her as a profile in courage, as a historical figure, as somebody who's put...
Liz Cheney?
Yes. How do you see her?
None of those things. I mean, that's a broad question. How do I see her?
Yeah, because some people see her as a hero in today's politics.
No.
Some people see her as a zero.
Well, she's standing up to people who say that
the bar was
election
set pretty low.
Yeah,
was stolen.
Yeah, but she was complicit for 4 years. I mean, when you ride with Donald Trump on damn near everything for 4 years, I don't think you can be considered a hero. Not to mention, after January 6th, she voted against the John Lewis voting rights bill. So you can't tell me that you're standing up for democracy when you won't even vote to preserve the cornerstone of democracy, which is voting.
Yeah. Okay, then.
She's not a hero.
And that's the thing about, and thank you, Charlemagne the God, for saying that. We got these people who want to be on the right side of history, right? Who want to be seen as that they did something. He just listed a bunch of things that will show you that she did nothing. She was complicit in everything that he did for 4 years. And now she's being regarded as this. Now she's being regarded as that. No. It's unfair.
As we have just seen, you pull no punches with your opinions, which we appreciate. We're just like you here. When I heard that you asked Vice President Harris, who's the real president here, Biden or Manchin? Did you ask her that question? What did she say?
Nothing. She didn't really give an answer, but I mean, as you can see, it still seems like President Manchin is currently running this country. And I think that was, in hindsight, when you look, people thought I was being harsh by asking that question, but now it's like, well, damn, who is running this country? Is it President Biden or
He has
President
a lot of
Manchin?
power for one person.
Absolutely.
I know, but that's the system. The system is off.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Uh-huh. Are you still frustrated with the way the Democrats are countering the Republicans?
Yes, I feel like Democrats have tried every political strategy except for courage. You know,
Woo!
and I'm on record as saying the fourth.
He said they've demonstrated everything except for courage. Whew. Mm.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think there's 4 things that need to be done to preserve democracy. You know, one is get rid of the filibuster so you can properly legislate.
Manchin won't have it.
That's right.
And then Kirsten Sinema, too.
That's right.
So it's not his fault.
That's right. One is expand the Supreme Court. You got to protect voting rights, and you got to prosecute everybody involved with the insurrection on January 6th. It takes courage to vote to get rid of the filibuster, but it also takes courage to call out people like Joe Manchin, to call out people like Kristen Sinema, and let us, the general public, know those are the people blocking progress in this party.
You feel they're not doing that enough?
Absolutely not. Like, I mean, you know, Bernie Sanders was one of the first, you know, high-profile people in that party to do it last week. You know, AOC has been doing it. People like Nina Turner have been doing it, but it's just like...
Those are the heroes.
That's what I was actually trying to get the vice president to do.
But Charlie,
to point us in the right direction.
In West Virginia, could there be a Democrat that's not in the Joe Manchin mold who gets elected? Because listen, Joe Manchin could easily become a Republican, and if he becomes a Republican today,
Lose another
I'll
head,
tell you
yeah.
so what. You don't lose another seat. You lose control of the Senate.
That's He's not getting anything done now. So if he becomes a Republican, who cares?
You got Ketanji Jackson Brown on the Supreme Court.
That's the same thing. It's a numbers game, right? Even Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court. Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court. It's great to have her there, but it's still a numbers game. So it's still a 6-3 conservative majority. So I don't even want to put the pressure on that sister, because when things don't go right, they'll be pointing the blame at her when it's 6 other people taking back all of our rights on that.
Right.
So tell me exactly what you think they can do, not what you'd like them to do, but what they actually, in your opinion, can do.
Well, they could put the pressure on people like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema to vote to get rid of the filibuster.
Do you think that they haven't been doing that? Wait. Do you think that they haven't been up there? I can't say it like that.
What? Say it. Speak truth to power.
I forgot we're on television, not on the radio. Because on the show I can say anything.
Okay.
You know, but do you think, because the thing that bothers me more than anything is that people can do what they can do. It's like Obama, whether you liked him or not, he got stuff done he could get done. It's not like you wasn't sitting around eating bonbons, smoking Cuban cigars.
Yeah.
The man was working his tail off trying to get stuff done. So I want to know what you think, and then I'm going to ask you one more question. What you think they should be doing right now, and when are you going to run?
Me? Please. No way. I mean, what they should be doing is what we're saying they should do. Vote to get rid of the filibuster so you can properly legislate. Then you expand the Supreme Court. That's how you protect voting rights. And we need to be out here in these streets putting pressure on, the DOJ to prosecute everybody who's involved in the attempted coup of this country on January 6th. If those 4 things aren't done, we're not going to preserve democracy.
I happen to agree with you.
So
I agree with that.
Everything else is kind of just like a pointless conversation.
The question is not sure what should they do, but what could they do? I don't know that those things.
That's the point.
Yeah, I don't know if they can.
And that's the thing. They've made laws that are so... I don't even know the right word to say there. But the laws of yesteryear are protecting these people in ways that we lose every time. You know, the filibuster and to expanding the Supreme Court, so it's not so, like he said, 6-3, or like many people said, how, you know, there's all these Republicans on the Supreme Court. They get to live until they don't get voted out until they die, or they choose to step down. That leaves us as in the public. That leaves us, you know, able to be harmed and by all these companies and these laws that protect Republicans mostly. I mean, I think he had some really good points. Charlamagne the God weighing in on Liz Cheney and Joe Manchin and the Democratic Party, and that's why I said I don't see how, when Donald Trump runs again, how they won't steal an election, because that's what the setup is becoming. It's not going to be about, who actually won. They're going to certify an election using the Supreme Court, which I don't think has ever been done in the way that they're trying to do it. And they're going to steal an election from us and make that man president again. Once he's president again, he will never leave office. His ties will never leave office, and I don't mean his necktie. I mean, even if he were to die in office, whoever was the vice president will be next, and they're going to keep doing it. They're just going to keep making sure that Trump lives forever. And that is the real danger. We'll be back. All right, we're back, and there's a few more topics that, a lot more topics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's 17 more topics. I'm going to break this up into another show. I'm going to talk about just something that a lot of Americans are facing. The first of the last two that we're going to talk about today, how private equity firms are increasing U.S. rent prices. Let's get right into it.
Tonight, skyrocketing rents, forcing a growing number of Americans to think twice about where home is.
It's been making news for months. Rent is up. Rental prices increasing more than 30% in major cities across the U.S. There's a handful of reasons for the surge, but experts say one in particular is key: private equity firms. Private equity firms raise money from institutional and accredited investors, so not just from any ordinary person. Those funds are then invested in different types of assets with the aim of getting a return on investment.
A lot of these private equity-backed firms really moved into the apartment market, the multifamily market, in a big way after the last housing crisis. They also moved into the single-family market. What they do...
And the last housing crisis happened during COVID. So a lot of these firms were able to buy up properties and whatnot during COVID while Americans were suffering. And that's why I keep telling you that we have to put this pressure on these companies and stop letting them get away from not paying taxes, because they're able to do these things, buy up our properties and charge enormous rents or enormous amounts of money for rent, I should say.
Is they go out and they find these buildings. They typically make some changes quickly to try to increase the profit.
Vogel, a housing reporter with ProPublica, says private equity firms increase profit by raising rent and cutting other building expenses.
Maintenance, security, all those sorts of important things that people really rely on to live in these buildings comfortably.
I mean, I'll tell you, even last night, I hung out with a friend, and I had to pay $8 to park in the parking garage where he lived. I had to pay $8 to go visit someone. That's crazy. You're making money each way you go, no matter what. You get it from the gas. You get it where I park. You can't park here because you'll get a boot. You can't park there because it's crime ridden, or you're afraid that your valuables will get stolen because there's no security. You get it going, you get it coming, no matter what. We are under attack. Our pockets are under attack, our healthcare is under attack, our education is under attack, and we're the ones who keep losing, not them. They're pocketing all this money.
Tenant advocates like Sophia Lopez say those money-saving measures for equity firms cost tenants.
The tenants have told me stories about having to live without working heat
in the dead of winter in some pretty cold places like Minneapolis. In one case, a tenant told me a story about water that was over an electrical outlet and needing the power to be turned off, and the company telling her that she'd have to turn it off herself, which would have required her to wade through standing electrified water.
Beyond safety concerns, there's the issue of affordability for renters and home buyers. The median home price in the U.S. hitting a high of $416,000 in June, with rising mortgage rates and expensive house costs slowing home sales and pushing many to rent. Nationwide, the average rent for a one-bedroom, $1,701, while a two-bedroom is $2,048. That's a more than 25% increase since last year.
More than 25% increase, while 30 million people were unemployed last year, while gas prices are high, while homelessness is back up, out the roof. Vets can't get any relief. Medical bills are insane. Where is the relief? I tell you, Joe Biden could never run because of things like this. There's no relief for Americans.
As rents drastically increase, experts like Vogel say private equity firms are a main reason why. In February 2022, Vogel found that private equity firms play a major role in the rental market. Vogel reporting how mortgage finance companies like Freddie Mac are fueling the rise in housing costs. Since 2015, Freddie Mac gave billions to these firms, including real estate company Greystar.
Most of us in the industry are getting very aggressive in driving expenses down.
Here's Greystar CEO discussing his firm's ability to cut costs back in 2010.
We can drive dramatic savings out of the expense side of the equation.
But residents worry private equity firms' savings will come at a cost, pricing them out of previously affordable homes.
A lot of the tenant advocates that we've talked to also feel that this financing that Freddie is providing is coming with very few strings attached for the businesses that are taking the money.
Mortgage finance company Freddie Mac shared in a statement in part that they're, quote, focused on addressing the affordable rental housing crisis. More than 95% of the rental units we support through loan purchases are affordable to low, very low, and middle-income households, end quote. Private equity firm Greystar declined our request for comment. Today, according to Americans for Financial Reform, 1.6 million families rented from real estate owned by private equity firms. That includes over 1 million apartment units, over 275,000 home lots, and nearly 240,000 single-family rental homes. Private equity becoming one of the largest landlords in urban America. It's a change that hasn't gone unnoticed.
After an extensive investigation into this practice, we have found that private equity companies have bought up hundreds of thousands of single-family homes and placed them on the rental market.
The House Committee on Financial Services surveying the nation's top 5 single-family rental companies in June. Their findings?
This predatory purchasing contributes to our nation's shortage of affordable housing and exacerbates the racial wealth gap.
Now, advocates say to combat this national issue, local organizing and state-level change is needed.
Whether that's through rent stabilization or rent control, that could also include protections from fines and fees, a right to counsel if you go through an eviction or have some other kind of issue. Knowing that you'll have a lawyer in your corner makes all the difference. There are organizations all across the country who do tenant organizing to make sure that the people actually living in these homes have...
You got to remember, a lot of this happened during COVID. So when I talk about Donald Trump getting away with murder of 1 million Americans, because of the coronavirus and not paying attention to it and just ignoring it as it got worse and worse. The only people who were at risk were us. We're the only ones who've been hurt by it. Everyone else has made money. Everyone else. This is why Americans are leaving. And this is the final story for this show. Like I said, I'm going to break this show up into another one. But Americans are leaving in droves because this is not the country where you can prosper. You have $2,100 in rent for basic apartments now. But the minimum wage hasn't gone up. In Georgia, minimum wage is still under $6. Many places it's not even over $7. But everything else has gone up. Milk has gone up. Meat has gone up. I'm a vegan. I'm looking at prices like, how the hell can I continue trying to be healthy and not go and buy Pop-Tarts and dollar meat that, is really affected, in which I believe, and many people believe, many scientists, believe causes cancer. I can't even be healthy. How can you be healthy in America when the prices are this and that? Everything's on the up except for our wages. I talked about wage theft. How these companies get to steal money out of every American's pocket. Billions and billions of dollars every year stolen.
And after more than 2 years of dealing with COVID, along with inflation and a divisive political climate, some Americans have simply had enough, and they're packing and moving their families all the way to Europe for a new life. Les Trent has details.
And not just Europe. There are people, which I find funny. And funny, when I say I find things funny, it's because of the hypocrisy of it all, the irony of it all. There are so many Americans moving to Mexico. Many Californians who are just like, I'm out of here, I'm going to Mexico. The same people, the same country we are that looks at Mexicans like, why are you coming here? Why are you coming here stealing our jobs? We're leaving and going out. We're leaving America in droves. There's no reason to stay. There's no security. There's no job security. There's no wage security. There's no, as a person was saying before, I forget the word right now, but rental stabilization, let's just say that. People are being charged everything and anything. It's horrible.
Allison and Dustin Baxley are giving Inside Edition a tour of their new home in Portugal.
This is our living room. As you can see, it's quite large, which is nice.
Look at that backyard, equipped with a large pool and outdoor kitchen. It's a far cry from their apartment in Brooklyn, where they lived before moving overseas.
Our house in Portugal is 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, and is half the price of what we paid in Brooklyn.
They have 2 young children and say they were also very concerned about safety in the big city.
With gun violence, school violence, the crazy politics that were going on, it was definitely a good time to make a change.
The Baxleys are part of a new wave of Americans packing up and moving to Europe. Luciani Sarafovic is a real estate broker specializing in international sales.
I am seeing a very large trend of people wanting to move to Europe. They're doing this because they can work remotely, and also because they want more savings, more space, and also a better work lifestyle.
So where are they going? Greece is seeing a huge spike, 40% compared to last year. Italy and France are also seeing their highest U.S. demand in years.
There's plenty of places that I've seen, in especially Italy, because it said Italy, so it came back to my mind, where they are offering for you to come live there and buy a property for like $1. $1 to buy, a beautiful Italian home, which you may have to restore. And then there's like rules where you have to live there for at least a year or more. But why would you stay? You get a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom apartment with house with a pool and an outdoor kitchen. Why would you stay at half the rent or half the cost? Why would you stay?
Sinclair is among those making the big leap back to the old world. She's moving with her son from Atlanta to Italy.
You can hear the church bells from one of the churches now.
She just bought a house in Sicily after being fed up with the cost of living in the States.
A total of $60,000 is what it costs for 2 houses and a storefront area with a bathroom. for literally 3 properties. Here we are.
Galen and Meryl Draper recently relocated to this stunning estate in southwest France.
I would say for the price of like a bathroom in Brooklyn, we were able to get that. And also the
you see you laugh at that, and it's laughable because we were the country that you came to get away from certain things and to live and prosper.
I mean, we were able to get a loan there. That's like less than 1%, which doesn't even make sense here.
These Americans say moving to a foreign country is not easy, but feel it is the right decision for them.
All right, guys. I really, I pretty much said what I needed to say. I'll see y'all for episode 6. I got no further questions. Have a great day.